Hey, it's State of State. We got your Nittany Line update. It's a football discussion with Tom and Justin, so kick back and press play.
With former Penn State and NFL defensive back Justin King, I'm Tom Hannafin. This is State of State. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate us, and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media at State of State Pod. Comment on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, you can become a member of our YouTube channel. For just 99 cents a month, you can get all upcoming episodes of State of State, plus our entire members-only playlist, ad-free, commercial-free. Hit the join button on our homepage or follow the link in the description of this podcast. This podcast is presented by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're deep into the NBA and NHL finals. BetOnline has more ways to stay in the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on Major League Baseball, UFC, and boxing, to tennis and NFL futures. BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Penn State fans, are you feeling confident that the Nittany Lions can win college football's national championship next season? Lock in your futures bet at betonline.ag today. State of State is presented by BetOnline. The game starts here. State of State is a proud supporter of Blue White Outfitters. Blue White Outfitters was created as a retail shop meant to highlight the confidence, competitiveness, and fearlessness of the elite athletes found throughout the history of Penn State University. Check out their Lockdown U and Lawn Boys merchandise today. All sales from Blue White Outfitters directly benefit Penn State student athletes. Also, official State of State merchandise is available now. Support the show and grab State of State t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Visit www.bluewhiteoutfitters.com today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to State of State. I'm Tom Hannafin. He's Justin King. Today, we're talking about the ramifications of the House settlement, which has finally come to a conclusion, and also the information out there about Penn State being a part of private equity in college sports. Now, for football fans, for fans of college athletics, maybe this isn't the best news for you because it's just more news about the money and the business behind college football and college athletics. However, it is eventually going to show significant changes in the sport. Justin King, you do a tremendous amount with LIG Sports Group and living in this space. So kind of for those who aren't terribly educated on this, let's start with the House settlement. What does the House settlement mean for college football right now?
Amateurism as we knew it is dead, right? Like in terms of schools not being able to pay the actual players from a legality standpoint, and just literally they will be able to pay the players and now work within or under a cap or a budget. So it makes it real similar to professional sports, just from the standpoint of who's actually paying the players, how they're being assessed, and the revenue sharing aspect of it. So when you think about amateurism, it was always, a level of development, no money, just kind of understanding that they're student athletes. That classification is going to change, and it just changes the dynamic of everything that we knew about college sports.
The House agreed to pay out $2.8 billion to athletes past and present. You're going to see the $20.5 million cap beginning in this upcoming season, and that will slowly increase by 4% over time. And that cap applies to all sports, every sport that Penn State has. So it is going to be upon Pat Kraft, the athletic department, to figure out how you break that up, how you ration that out. How much do you allot to football at certain schools? Let's use Ohio State or Alabama as for instance. Maybe 13 to 15 million of that 20 and a half is allotted to football because football is king. Is Penn State going to be something similar? Obviously, we've seen the emphasis on wrestling, on baseball having a rejuvenation, on hockey doing extremely well, basketball. That's something that Pat Kraft and company have been trying to improve for a very long time. So the money-making sports getting the first dibs, essentially getting taken care of first. And then unfortunately, you have to go down the line. There are going to be the issues of Title IX. There are going to be the issues of how much these sports that are not revenue generating sports, are they going to travel nearly as much? Are they going to be subject to the same conferences as college football when you're asking somebody on the fencing team to travel from State College, Pennsylvania to Eugene, Oregon for some sort of event? Is that going to change? I would guess inevitably. But from your perspective, how much will this change for the college football fan in 2025, for instance, with Penn State football?
We say for the fan, I think the fan liked the product these past couple of years. So I don't think the product changes too much, besides maybe some of the operation behind the scenes, right? You probably see less holdouts and things of that nature, different avenues of cheating. But for the fan experience, I think it's actually good. You put a little bit of guardrails around competitive balance and expectations of players holding out and doing different things from that standpoint. So I think you get a little bit more stability there and a good product. So I don't think from the fan standpoint, it means much. It's all up.
What do you think about the payout? Because I think a lot of people look at $2.8 billion. Wow, that's a big number. But when you break that up over thousands and thousands of athletes across multiple sports, dating all the way back to 2016, it feels like for some, this is going to be a drop in the bucket. There are going to be some athletes who potentially their star power, I'll use it that way, peaked in college and maybe it never panned out at the pros. So you're getting like a little bit of something, but is it really what you were worth at that point in time? The answer for a lot of people will probably be no. And there's also people who played college athletics and suffered injuries that have changed them for the rest of their lives and could use healthcare. This might help that a little bit. It's so hard to really ration it out. But this does now, because of the House settlement going forward, this allows the schools to directly pay the players. So this is just getting rid of the collectives being an absolute necessity. The collectives are still going to exist. The collectives are still going to be there to try and raise money for NIL, all those sorts of things. But now the university is directly paying Drew Aller, for instance, that sort of situation. But the payout and the future payouts, what did you think about that?
It's relative, right? I think like anytime you've ever seen like a labor dispute with an employee where they do back pay, it's always a pretty big number in that one lump sum, but it's just making up for what was due in the past. Like you said, players are looking to get about $130,000 check. It's a nice check, you know what I mean, for 20 to 25-year-old guys starting their life. And to be completely honest, a lot of them probably have come out on top, because when you really understand the back end of the business, a lot of players aren't very valuable, right? I mean, I know some of them do have value. They have to work. They have to do these different type of things. But for the product to be, let's say, like watchable or like digestible to the millions, it doesn't take but so many. So like if we really want to get into the nitty gritty, and I think that's like kind of the cat and mouse game between management and people building teams versus like the talent that are coming up. That's like, yo, are you the ones within that, under that veil that they actually value? So, I mean, I think people are winning with the actual settlement from getting $130,000 check from playing in college and things of that nature, because it's a W. And I think moving forward, like you said, like without the clearinghouse and things of that nature, I still think it's in a pretty good space to be an independent contractor without true guardrails, right? Because everyone keeps screaming collective bargaining and this, that, and the third, but all it does is, regulate how much you can make and why you can make it. So if you're really like that guy in a space where talent reigns supreme, I'll be licking my chops in this current landscape.
The interesting part about the House settlement and the information that's come out of it is that the NCAA, much maligned, is now pretty much strictly going to be about the academics, clearinghouse, as you mentioned, and then also event scheduling, which is inevitable in terms of like postseason play, that sort of thing. So I know it's like, hey, a lot of people for years, myself included, have been like, what's the point of the NCAA in terms of these punishments that have no real rhyme or reason to them? And Penn State fans understand that very well from back in 2011, 2012, and other programs getting certain punishments versus, there was never the appropriate punishment to fit the crime on a case-by-case basis. There was no continuity. So I'm not saying what Penn State received was more than what it should have received or less than what it should have received, but just consistently over time, you would see certain cases and you're like, why the hell did this case get absolutely crushed? And then this one is like, this one got a pass, that sort of thing. So the NCAA is now no longer involved in that. Now you have the creation of the College Sports Commission, which is basically, to me, Justin, feels like just a rebranding of the NCAA. And by the way, the people running the CSC are the same people running the college football playoff. So how ironic is that?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's not ironic at all. I mean, I think you'd expect it.
But my point being, it's like, okay, you created another entity to actually govern this, and then the third-party consulting firm Deloitte being the group that is going to levy punishments like that. Now it's like, okay, now we're going to get our act together.
Yeah, that's extremely funny when you really understand the operation of all these different entities and the businesses and the people behind them. But we always said that the college football playoff, like that entity in itself, was built to kind of house the new age of college sports, because that is the target in which everyone is aiming for. That's the revenue that everyone kind of points to that needs to be split up, right? Because that's what everyone's tuning in for, like through the big games that the NBCs or the big noon games are looking for. Like all those games that they're targeting, they're all targeting around the storyline they get to that big pot, right? So like there's certain entities that are set up that are pushing through, the product to make sure that people watch it. So I'm saying that to say, why wouldn't they create a commission when they know that it's in their best interest to guard the competitive balance of the game? They recognize they're more business people from that standpoint. We want to get into gambling and all these different type of things. We can't have players holding out and teams cheating when we want to have a product where people want to bet and actually really rake in the money. We talk about building up that revenue and that bigger pot at the end of the day. So all these are just necessary steps to formalizing the business and making sure that house takes the cake at the end.
I'm curious to see mostly how programs navigate the $20.5 million cap.
Are they going to?
Well, and that's the thing, is that the world of the cash in a McDonald's bag has existed forever in college football, college athletics. So it's like, it's not really going to go away. You're just maybe not going to see it as much. And there will, allegedly be, some transparency in terms of fair market value, but then it's also going to be, how do you define fair market value on a case-by-case basis? That's
what Deloitte's for, right? They're going to be setting the market value of everybody.
And there's that, any payments over $600 have to be figured out, or have to be declared, excuse me. So there's that element. I mean, the thing I'm very curious to see is which blue blood programs are really prepared for this, because you've seen how some programs allegedly are spending crazy amounts of money on their roster. Penn State, I wouldn't put in that category of spending an absurd amount of money on their roster. For a while, they were playing Moneyball. They've slowly caught up. Are they completely caught up to the likes of Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, those sorts? Probably not. Getting closer and closer, but probably not. So my question is Penn State better suited to deal with a salary cap than some of these other schools who have just been like, hey, let's just spend freely?
I think that's why they're ranked in the top 3, top 5 coming into the season, is because they are built for like some level of guardrails and a salary cap. I mean, just on how they build, they still are, I would say, a luxury development program. When I say luxury, like they can demand the top tier raw materials, and they have the top tier developers and a coaching standpoint. So I think they could get a mix of both. It's a pretty unique stance from a program, and that I think will reign supreme, or at least stay at the top. We always got a shot at the dance in this new age of college football or college athletics.
Yeah, it's across the board. So I'm very curious to see which schools struggle with that, which schools adapt to it quickly. I have a feeling Penn State's going to adapt to it quickly. Another element to this, and I think this is something that really alarmed a lot of Penn State football fans, is the story came out. Penn State and UCLA are the first two schools to sign on to Elevate's new college investment initiative, thus leading college athletic departments shift towards private equity investment. Can you explain kind of the macro of what this means for Penn State football?
I mean, it's support, right? We talk about expansion and being able to leverage different assets that you have. Is gotta call in the big guns, right? A lot of people or the casual fan doesn't recognize that the majority of athletic departments operate in the red. You know what I mean? They spend more than they actually make. Penn State is one of the few that is in the green, but barely. And to compete from standpoint of with other schools that are only carrying 12, 13, 14 programs, you have to have some level of support to build out and not lean on your alumni base and have a revenue generating asset in Penn State and its whole ecosystem of assets to be able to get a return on investment. And I think they're one of the few programs that has that, right? And I think UCLA is a unique one as well. But I think it makes sense.
You and I have talked about it for a while, is that if I'm a donor or a company that is trying to invest in college athletics, the days of let me donate this to the university so they can go get a player or build a new wing or improve the stadium or something like that, and then just like being happy that, oh, that player did well, or there's my name on the side of the building, those days are gone. And I think a lot of Penn State fans, obviously, we reported it quite a bit here, is it was the outrage about Beaver Stadium having an advertiser attached to it and being West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium. And a lot of people just didn't want to see that change, but also it was kind of inevitable. And I think, unfortunately for Penn State traditionalists, you're going to see more and more of that, because you're going to see big companies want to come in and invest in Penn State. It is a commodity. It is an asset. It is an appreciating asset consistently every single year. And that's the beauty of investing in anything in sports, is that if you're able to buy in, it's almost a guarantee that they are going to appreciate consistently over time, and you'll see your money back. So I think the positive thing, at least for Penn State football, and this is Penn State, every single sport is going to benefit from this. This is a good thing, but you are going to see changes. You are going to see more corporate involvement. You are going to see more brands involved, because again, it's like anything that you invest in your personal life to set yourself up for your 401k, your retirement. You want to see a return on investment. What is in it for me? So if, for instance, Justin King was going to be like, hey, we're going to rename the Penn State locker room at Beaver Stadium the Justin King locker room or something like that, putting down X amount of dollars, you're like, well, great. What did I get back from that? Warm and fuzzies? No, it's like, I'd like to see an investment, so that way maybe I decide to retire and somebody else wants to name the locker room, and let me cash out. Let me take advantage of this for the university that, for instance, Justin King fought, played for, bled for, all that sorts of thing, put your body on the line, have represented for years. So that can come in a lot of different capacities, whether you played for a team or not. So I think this is a really intriguing step forward, and Penn State football specifically is a big time commodity in this space. For a fan, Justin, is this a situation where it's like, hey, is my ticket about to get a lot more expensive? Is my parking about to get a lot more challenging, lodging, all that sort of stuff?
No, I don't believe so. I think the market value of like a college ticket at a prime time place like Penn State is going to remain stable. Obviously, I think it's going to continue to go up. But I mean, we've been speaking about this for 4 or 5 years, even from the creation when we're doing like Lockdown U and Blue White Outfitters, and it was always creating these economic vehicles. That was the idea. And I think even when I was pitching it to Penn State, I think it was a little bit before its time and what they understood what can come about, because that's what I was saying. It's like, hey, you build these vehicles, you have investable assets, right? We both worked at the WWE or close and understood the business model of sports entertainment business that builds entities through its assets of players, and why not try to transition that there and like building vehicles of the groups when we talk about Lockdown U, Lawn Boys, Aces, and build those to have track record of customers to be able to be investable assets, right? So that's something that I believed in heavily. So, I mean, it's the right move, and I think it's a great opportunity for even the players to participate. We talk about in revenue sharing. We were trying to show and educate on like, hey, this is a simple, basic way of revenue sharing off the NIL and the revenue stream of the school. So as long as they continue to do that, I think it's going to be a bright future for college athletics for the informed individuals that are going through the process.
Hop in our comment section, get at us on social media. Tell us how you feel about the House settlement and this private equity development for Penn State football, Penn State athletics, period. Your concerns, your excitement, anything that you guys are thinking and feeling about this, potential questions you might have. Justin is fabulous in terms of weighing in on this subject matter. Later on this week here on State of State, we're going to get Justin's firsthand experience from prospect camp at Penn State and elsewhere, and also some other roster evaluation things from last week that we can get Jay King's 2 cents on right here on State of State. Tune in later on this week for that evaluation. Thank you all so much for joining us. This episode and our entire library of shows is available now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate us, and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media at State of State Pod. Comment on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, you can become a member of our YouTube channel. For just 99 cents a month, you can get all upcoming episodes of State of State, plus our entire members-only playlist, ad-free, commercial-free. Hit the join button on our homepage or follow the link in the description of this podcast. State of State is presented by Bet Online and by Blue White Outfitters.